Hello everybody, welcome back to SketchCraft Live. Today I'm setting up a commission. This is the darkness. I am setting up the roughy lines that I will print out and then do all my final work on when I actually ink and do all the final details. But I've already set up the basic construction here. So this is my basic pose I've got worked out already. And the goal now, the only thing I have left to do before I print out and render out the final art is work out his armor design and some of his gauntlets, the way his gloves should work. Right now he has sort of people fingers, and then I'll go in there and add over that some of his Sharpie hands and stuff, which I just found to be a little bit easier than trying to just draw claws from the get. So drawing in Photoshop CS5. Uh, don't worry about all these layers. This is mostly because as I work, I just like to have options, and so I'll make a new layer and try something versus trying to keep it all or on one layer or undo a lot. So don't worry about all this stuff over here. You can add as many or as little layers as you want. It doesn't really matter. I'm gonna flatten it when I get done anyhow. But you can see like there's like the rough hands, and then that's me sort of like blocking over and working them in. You know, so there's just a ton of things to do. Uh, as I work, I try not to stress over stuff like that. So I normally don't share the streaming at this stage, but a lot of people have been asking me if I would for this. So I said, okay, I'll turn it on. But normally when I'm constructing like this, I kind of don't like to stream. Mostly because I just don't want to feel the pressure on my back when I'm designing. When I do the actual drawing, that's fine. I don't mind. But the designing part, I don't like looking over my shoulder too much. So uh, let's just get started. And I gotta open up a few reference pics so I can kind of see how his armor's pretty trippy. The trick here is not to draw every little detail. It's to kind of work out the basic things, and then as I print it out onto the board, I would then go and actually do all the real fine noodling in pencil and pen. Put some music on my headphones. Maybe Brandon will show up. Maybe he won't. All right. I don't like it when the setup. This has gone on a bit longer than I had intended, and when things start to take this long, um, I lose interest. So I don't want to lose interest in this. So I gotta get through the drawing part. Not the biggest fan of drawing this character. I don't mind all the details. It's just there's hardly any real clear shot in any comic. Like it changes more or less here and there. So um, it's a little. That makes sense. So what I'm gonna just do is just mark in his stuff in silhouette actually. I wish it wouldn't default to airbrush. Like I seriously have other stuff to do. So. Hmm. That is not coming out the way it should. See, normally I just bend the fucking thing. It's just easier to sort of silhouette that stuff in and then haze it out. So when I put it on the board, I can just already have it sort of worked out structurally. You can sort of see that. Then you can duplicate this. Turn that white. Turn the opacity down. And then from there, just do sort of a quick cleanup. And then I can turn the opacity down on that so it makes it a little easier to see. Some people say, well, Rob, that's because, in Photoshop you have a lot of layers. And it's like, well, yeah, they used to use fucking light boards for this stuff. Get some tracing paper and some light board, and you do another pass. This way you don't have to keep doing that. It's the same thing, just you're doing it digitally. And these aren't going to be final details. I can really rack up the the bits. Just want to make sure all the basic stuff is there. I don't know. I think that actually will probably leave that way and just do it on the board. Like that stuff back there, I can. pinky is way too large. This is one of those things where it's like, I know all these little tiny details are way easier for me to do. Actually on the board. So it has a lot to do with scale. So this stuff here, I'll duplicate and keep. Some of this shit here, I'll duplicate and keep. And turn that off. And then just go in on the hands. And any of the fingers that are a little confusing, I can just paint in white. Alright. Go back to my initial roughie. And cut out some of this stuff that I've drawn in. I don't know if that needs to be there. Kind of jets in to the silhouette. This stuff all I need to work out. The goal with this other stuff here isn't to like just look all the cool shit I can draw, which believe me, I could fill this whole thing up with stuff if that was the case. It's really to try and re-emphasis to add emphasis back onto the perspective and the dynamics, and using these extra details as a way to sort of reinforce those. Mm-hmm. have to wonder how necessary that even is. That's a bit more tasteful. Mm-hmm. 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 I'm just preparing this to print. Post this up. Mm-hmm. 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 Let me share that. All right, time to go do a test print. I'll print on some junk paper first. I don't waste my good paper. If I can find my junk paper. It clearly is not the junk paper. Every time I try to omit this step, printing on junk paper first, I just go, well, it'll print fine this time. It did last time. I go to do the print, and I end up screwing it up.
Hello, Rob.
Hey, 1 second. Hey, go ahead and talk again.
Hello.
I'm just making sure it doesn't jump to you now. All right.
Right. Looking fantastic.
Hopefully, I'm gonna do the test print.
I jumped on right when you're finished.
No, well, I'm gonna print it out and start drawing.
Uh,
When it gets this long, I need to get it out on the board. You know what I mean? Like it,
mhm.
it just is like, all right, look, it's a big piece. Like, you know what I mean? So, 1 second. So I'm just making certain that it'll print the way I want it to. Why is it? Okay, that's fine. I think that'll work. What have you been up to, Brandon?
Uh, Today, art-wise, I had to finish a thing for the new Thor launch, and tonight I went and had wings and played trivia. That's the extent of everything. And I was like, well, I could go to bed, and then I was like, or I could hop on Rob's recording and work on art. So
Hey,
here I
look,
am.
even I don't like hopping on Rob's recording, but someone has to get the work done,
Right.
you know. Like, dude, this job has cost me more friends than I've made. You know what I mean? Like, literally, I think you're like you and my art director are probably the last ones. I'm friendly with some people, but I wouldn't say I'm friends with them.
No, I get you. And it's I'd say I'm pretty much getting the same where it's like I have some friends, but it's you and my woman. That's about it. Who I converse
Yeah,
with
the
about.
Kickstarters cost me like the remaining parts of my friendships with people. Their perceived idea of success,
Right.
however flawed it may actually be, and it is flawed. You know, I don't know. Some days it bothers me more. You know, I mean, it doesn't bother me like I'm not losing sleep over it. You know, I
Hmm.
probably would have like maybe 10 years ago.
Right.
But it's just funny because like the people that sort of like abandon and shit, like ship, jump ship. When I do see them, it's like I end up being like real like hypercritical of them, and they go, "Well, Rob's just a dick every time I'm around." I'm like, "No, fucker. Like, why do you think you? Because you know me, man. I mean, do I really like when we hang out? Do I like make fun of you and shit? Does that occur?
Not when we hang out now.
No, no. I mean, over the internet, where I need to keep things lively. I mean, you're gonna be the
Right.
heel. That's just how that works. you know?
Right. No, in person you're actually not that much of a dick.
Thanks.
It was yeah, it was kind of a backhanded compliment, but I meant it with the nicest way possible. Like, you may come off like a dick on the recordings, but that's because you're in work mode. You know, it's it's this is stuff's got to get done mode. You know, so.
Yeah, well, let's stop rationalizing. It's like whatever. It's like I had two people on DeviantArt today go, "How in the hell have you been on here 9 years and had 5 deviations and you have so few watchers?" And I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't know. Yeah, it's never put a dime in my pocket one way or the other.
Right.
Can't say. I don't know, man. Maybe I don't draw enough bronies, or
That's
you know,
okay. I draw women like men, so.
like I don't care. Like there's nothing I can do about it. I don't draw women like men.
I'll get
I
better
don't
at
know. You
it.
know what I think it is? Is because I don't do one thing over and over and over.
Right.
I mean, I'll be honest. I think that's my biggest like. It's not a fault. It's just what it's that keeps people. If I do a landscape, based off a goofy little video game, it's like, why don't you draw just Green Lantern all the fucking time? I'm like, because I don't care. Why don't you get a job at Marvel? Like, you could just. You think like I want to sit around drawing superheroes all day? With rules. So, I mean, you think it's fun when
Right.
you got no rules. I was talking with a friend of mine who just signed a contract over at the Big Two, and they were like, "Yeah, no, no, no," and I'm like, "Dude, that's fucking awesome. Congratulations. It's what you really wanted." They're like, man, I could put it in." I'm like, "No, I really don't." You know what I mean? I don't want a word. I don't want any. I just don't. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want the hassle of sitting around trying to figure out how to make. Here's 2 pages of Deadpool talking to a dog. Like I don't know how I can't deal with life at that point. Like it's not a life I want to wake up to, and I have to draw it. Yeah, yeah. You have to really want whatever you sign yourself up for, ultimately.
Right.
And I just decided that when it comes to art, it's like the only thing I want to do is whatever I want to do. Does that make any sense? Like like my own thing, and then commissions to get some of the fan art shit. Get that little bug out my
Right.
system, and that's it. Like I don't care if I mean I'm already not famous and not rich, so at least I can be not famous and not rich and have a bunch of my own shit produced. Like
Right.
at least fait accompli, right? I mean, I would hate to be because like what I don't think people realize is I spend hours upon hours at work digging through 30 years of Marvel Comics history, for work. I'm always taking pages and cutting, that little Hulk will work, and then I'll redraw like the other half, So
Right.
I see, and I have seen hundreds of artists, that you've never heard of. They came on for like 2 or 3 issues, and you've never heard of.
Right.
It's like the John Burns, and the I don't think people even know Gil Kane's, but people know like the Sam Keats. But there's a million other fucking cats you've never heard of before. Name one woman who's ever drawn Spider-Man because I can show you the issues. But it's like people don't remember that. In the 80s,
Right.
not even recent. So I think about that. I'm like, look, Dave, there's no guarantee. And then I look at like what Sim did with Cerebus, and I'm like, it just seems like, I don't know. Well, only one guy's ever done that. And I'm like, well, maybe that's what I'd like to shoot for. If I'm gonna try and beat the odds, you know,
Yeah.
I'd rather beat the odds according to my own rule book, not theirs. You know what I mean? I want to play my own game. I don't want to play their game.
Nobody puts Rob in the corner.
Fuck that shit. But you've seen it happen. I've
Oh
shown you
yeah.
the projects.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what does it matter if I give a character a top hat? You know, like a monster chick a top hat in the comic. Well, Rob, what? That doesn't mean you're not gonna get. How do you know? Like that was my design. Now these guys are telling me just put her in a black hat jumpsuit. And I'm like, that's not gonna interest people. You understand what I mean? Like a
Hmm.
girl sitting there in a black jumpsuit isn't the same as a girl sitting there with the top hat and a little skull on top with a little bat character. Like, you know, I don't need notes like that. And and I don't know, like 10 years, dude. Like I was listening to Stern the other day, and he had this guy on Mark Moran. Who's like a 50-year-old comedian who's finally kind of breaking out now. But he came up the ranks with Jon Stewart, and he started out when Kinnison was big. And it's like this guy no one knows about, and he spent years being angry at like he said he just used to dick with Jon Stewart to the point where Jon Stewart was like, the guy was a total bully to him, really. Like this guy took over one of the shows. John left to go do Daily Show, right?
Hmm.
And this guy started dating, oh, no, 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 no. And John Paul was like, hey, what show are you hosting? And he's like, the show, I can't remember. And he's like, yeah, you don't get to make fun of me anymore. 'Cause that was, you know what I mean? It's like, and I don't want to become, like, I'm always afraid, like, I'll be that guy, that bitter dude, you know what I mean? Who for
Hmm.
some reason, I don't know why, can't seem to
Would
break
you?
through for whatever reason.
You want me to tell you if you're the bitter guy?
Am I the bitter guy?
No, bitter. If you become that guy.
Oh, yeah, you tell me. Because Rob Rage isn't bitterness. That's just entertainment.
Oh yeah, I know.
Like I'm genuinely not. Like, but I think the thing to prevent that is to do my own thing. Like because if I keep working on projects, it's like when I did the yeah, this will work better. I printed out a couple test copies because I need to see which will ink better. But I had that here's all the work that never got published. And it's
Hmm.
like I can't continue a career like that. Where it's like, well, here's what I was gonna do, and then this got canceled, and that got canceled, and these guys didn't pay, and this didn't work out. No, no, no. And like, I've sat in an art department explaining these things to some people because they'll ask me about shit, and I've had people go, well, Rob, you don't always get what you want. I'm like, these are fuckers that go home and never do shit. You know what I mean? Like, they go home, they spend time with their kids on the weekend, they're out having picnics, and they're fucking telling me. It's like I'm not out here saying I deserve anything. I'm saying that I'm working my ass off, and it's being wasted. It seems, like working on Game Fan, like I'll make that a win long term,
Hmm.
but it was a waste of like 2 years of my life. And I've had people go, well, you didn't make it a waste because you did this, and that. I'm like, yeah, I did that. Like that's not the job that did that.
Right.
And it's something I do think about because I'm nearer my birthday and shit. And it's like, well, here I am. And I'll put it this way: if anything has improved in the last 6 years, is that I don't consider myself a failure. Like I definitely did 6 years ago. I couldn't see one good thing. Like when I got out of art school, like I was thinking about last night, you know?
Uh-huh.
And I was like, man, why does that fucking art school shit piss me off so much? I'm like, because when I left, I really felt like I was a fucking total loser, you know?
Right.
Like I had just managed to scrape poverty because I worked, the whole t-shirt thing out, but like I was like, I don't even know what I want to do, and I couldn't draw as well as I'd wanted to even by that point. And Mosaic tanked, and I ate like a grand on Comic Con, and Comic Con banned me from getting a booth because of that shit. And it's like I just felt like a total loser, you know. I couldn't see any good thing, and it's like at least now I don't feel that,
Right.
But damn, dude, I can't continue another 10 years of fucking please like the Imagine effects. I mean that was when I just lost it, you know.
Right.
I mean
That's when you stepped. Was that before or after you stepped away? Was that
that was before. That
before?
was what caused me to step away in 2012.
That's
I was like, I'm done. Like I'm literally done. I stopped working on anything Big Dog Inc. You know, I stopped everything. I was trying to do that, and then I had Tom, and I went to work late, and I got yelled at because my art director knows what I do, at night, and it's like I can't juggle this anymore, you know,
right. Right.
and I'm tired of being told, you know, I have to pay my dues and shit. All right, so this is good. And it's like the guy, God bless him, dude, that video game developer that wanted me to draw like all those cutscenes and stuff, He still doesn't have the game up, His projection was last January to have the demo ready and go to Kickstarter. He still hasn't had that. The money he wanted to give me, I earned, way more just on Digibooks, I try to
Mm-hmm.
tell him, like, look, I get what you're offering is good money, but I don't want to draw comic book panels. You know what I mean? For anybody, for anything,
Right.
Like I think this is a cool project, and if for some reason that there was some way for me to make a video game with someone wherein all I did was my art, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And like it got made and I owned a piece of it, then that might be something I'd look into. But I don't, you know what I mean? Like I uh I don't have it in me to pursue the crazy ventures anymore with those people. Like all my work's getting done now because I'm the only guy. Like that's it. There's no denying that. Especially with the whole other guy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like who said, Rob, you really need to learn Copics, who was like, Rob, you should really learn how to use that, and you should no. Hey Rob, you nobody.
One man band.
But it does bug me sometimes. I'm always wondering if I'm wasting my time with anything. But at this point I figure if I enjoy it, it can't be a waste of time. I mean, as an artist, I think, and I did dawn on me the other day. I think the only real difference between like an artist and someone who draws for a hobby beyond the pay, right? Let's just take the pay out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is I guess at some point, like, when do you know you should make your own stuff versus when do you think you should just work like in the industry? And I think for me, it's like, if you don't have anything to say, then you should just be drawing. You know what I mean? Like for people. Because when I make a T-shirt, I don't have anything to say on T-shirts. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I have no personal. There's like some people do like Hydro 74 and Shepard Fairey. These guys, Monk. Like they'll make stuff and there'll be a whole political, sociological, artistic. I have nothing to say when it comes to graphic design or T-shirts. I don't care. It's
Right.
just a job, you know. Um, but I do feel that I have a lot of You listen to me talk about stuff. You know what I mean? Like I have a lot in my head, and I think like that's where I was like, well, you know. I have too many opinions to work with writers and editors. They don't want to hear it from me.
Right.
I think that's when my counselor back in school said, I should have been in like a fine artist because of my mouth. Hey, one second. I've got to wipe down this table before I start drawing. But I mean, it's not to say that you can't have something to say and work in a studio system. You know, it's that I'm
Mhm.
not going to be afforded those opportunities until I do it myself. You know,
Right.
I mean, I firmly believe that. Like, I have to get something out, like completely produced, done in the hands of people. You know, like I have to, and it's never gonna happen. You know, I've tried this, go and pitching thing, and then they all got fucking no, no, no. Then they want you to somehow cough up. That had always killed me with these independent studios. I gotta cough up the change to fucking produce the bit. I'm like, well, then what the fuck do I need you for? Well, we'll actually print it and ship it. I'm like, well, then where am I supposed to get fucking 10 grand from? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
well, then okay, well, how about this? And I always like imagine that like real like a bookie, you know, with
Right.
smacking his lips together. What I'll do is cut this up and no, 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 no.
Or like a record producer. All these
Yeah, yeah, like a
promises.
uncle, like Uncle Tom, Major Tom, right?
Right.
But like Major Tom, right? Like the guy who managed Elvis and took half of everything, you know. And it's like shit, man. I just don't know, dude. Like it dawned on me today that I did have something to say because I was watching, like I'm working on Game Cave, and then I'm watching this trailer for a game called Battleborn, which is sort of this. It's a game made by the guys who did Borderlands, right? And
Mhm.
it's a multiplayer first-person shooter kind of thing. And it's like, oh, it's about the story and these characters. And like I watched the trailer, and all it is like, in a world of something, there's all these stars have died, and there's one planet, and all these creatures are coming together to fight for it. I'm like, that's not a story, that's a premise. It's a pretty convoluted premise. Where's the arc? There's no arc. You know what I mean? It's just you wanted to have a robot fight a dinosaur, fight a fucking artillery guy, fight a samurai. And you came up with some bullshit reason for they all get there. That doesn't mean anything. You know, you're not saying anything. It's just nonsense. It's just a bunch of what do you call that? Exposition, right? It's
Yeah.
expositionville. So it's like, well, that's fine for a game. I get it, but then they try to like wrap it around the idea of story, and I'm like, that isn't a story. I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 actually has a story, and it uses farce and satire to make statements about like torture, like when you waterboard or torture this guy, and you got different ways you could torture him. And
Huh.
it's like all the shit that's been going on in the last few years in the news, the government. It's like it's hilarious, dude. Like there's actually something to be said there. There's nothing to be said. Battleborn, it's just fantasy nonsense. I mean, it looks pretty, but I don't know, man. Yeah. But you get what I'm saying, man. Just
Oh yeah.
rambling. Maybe I'm just rambling. See if I can actually act it. I may have to restart if it won't let me. Oh, that's because I'm looking at the mouse in the screen. That's great. All right.
I mean, I get it. It's like when yeah, people are like you have something you want to say, but you haven't shown anything. You haven't, like a coach say, we're going to win every game this season, and they don't win anything. They don't show any change. They don't have. I'm a little tired, so I get it. I just explain it back
But
out.
see, I also think too, you've never been there when I get scripts and then I have notes for the writer. It's not good. So they don't like that.
No, usually they don't. Or when a colors your stuff, and then you go back and recolor it.
You know what's funny? Yeah, well, I was right because now he colors like my edits. You know, that's what I find funny. Like, oh, I was wrong. That's why you color the way I used to alter all your shit. You know, that's the way he colors now. You know, but because he's got DC behind his name, he's Mr. Hot Shit. You know, and I'm fucking. You know, well, you should really submit, dude. No, 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 no. I don't like that submit term. I should submit to them. Like, think about the verbiage. That's why I always get told I think too much. I'm like, I don't know. Do I? Is that really a word we should be using? What should you do? Present? You know, like that might be a word we could use, but
Right.
they've chosen the word submit. I have to actually think about that. Interesting choice out of the whole dictionary and a thesaurus. You know, that's the word. You're gonna submit your stuff? Think about it. Yeah, so they don't like to hear that. It's not. Uh, mhm, mhm.
So Deadpool movie is going to be made. Thoughts?
Well, as long as they never show Ryan Reynolds' face, we'll be fine. I've long held the reason why his career never took off is because they keep showing his face. Like he doesn't have a leading man's face. He's kind of ugly. I
I
mean, that's
beg to
why.
differ.
Really? You think?
Hmm.
You really? So you think like? See, that's what I'm trying to get. Like, he he needs work, bro. Like his face gets in the way of the whole thing. Telling you. That's why the Deadpool thing works, and not one spoken line in Green Lantern does. You know, the only movie he was good in was Buried, which, by the way, I was digging through old Deadpool comics today
Hmm.
at work, and I found this cover from 2000 where Deadpool's buried on the cover in a coffin, alive. And I'm like, well, now that's fucking awesome, right? Like,
It's full
I mean,
circle.
it's for real, dude. Like, this is way before that movie too. Like, isn't that funny? Like, what are the odds of that?
I like Ryan Reynolds' voice.
That's what I
It's
said. His voice is fine. His face is the problem. He doesn't. You know, here's what he's not. It's that he's not a leading man. You don't look at him and go, that guy could carry a movie. You understand what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like what makes a leading actor? You know, like it's hard to say because so many people who are fine actors never can seem to carry their own film. You know, like Danny DeVito's not a leading man. He's a fine actor though, right?
right.
But he can't lead a film. You know, even in his heyday. Like, I mean, is Bruce Willis a fine actor? You see what I mean? Like, not really. You know, but he can lead a movie. So interesting. 1 second. But But yeah, he's funny in that fucking test video, man.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
But the writing helps too. Those guys, the Zombieland guys, put that together, right? So
yeah.
they wrote the shit. So that
They're
that
good
movie's fucking
writers.
hilarious. You know?
Yeah. I showed I was showing Jessica today that the test footage. I was like, yeah, they're making a movie, and based because they hit it off with that test footage. And she's like, what test footage? I showed her, and she was laughing. She's like, yeah, that's good. And I just love at the end, right before it ends, he's just like, fuck me.
Hi, Tom.
Yeah, and he just says it. His the way he says it, it's just so good. So yeah, it's his voice. I like him in comedies. You know.
No, you don't, because they made Green Lantern into a comedy. You know, every time I look at Green Lantern and I see a clip from it, I'm just like, this is just a more expensive version of the Son of Mask. Like, he actually turns into a Hot Wheel car. You know what I mean? Like, never ever turn into a Hot Wheel car in a movie. It's my advice to all filmmakers. It's a bad idea.
All he needed was the eyeballs to like pop out, like when the
Yeah.
hot girl comes in the room.
His
Just,
very first time he turns into Green Lantern, turns into a Hot Wheels car. The giant motor track and shit.
yeah,
Like, oh, well, we clowned it later. I'm like, that's not good. You know what I mean?
yeah. When you're already making fun of your own self in a movie, that's not good. Yeah, I just from the get go, the plot. I mean, when I think of Hal Jordan, I think of a troubled pilot, who carries the weight of his dead dad with him, and he's just over the top. I don't know. They just made him too comedy. Like I know
You
he's a
need to have
smart ass, but he's not.
you need to have a death wish, like almost like a Howard Hughes without the money.
Yeah.
Like, well, it's like when I was watching Terminator Salvation, I'm like, if they had to go with this premise, that they didn't do like my idea for a movie, like they really, since John Connor knew, that until he found Reese, you know, since he at that point I figured the movie is acting on the premise that fate isn't what you make of it, that there's no way to change the future.
Uh huh.
So his whole goal in life now is to, send John Reese back, or he will cease to exist. You know what I mean? And
Right.
all of humanity would have been wiped out entirely. So he has to find his father. It could have been a father searching, but until he finds his father, he knows he's invincible. Like he ended up becoming this great war hero because he can't die.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like fate won't let him. Like like I actually have to do this, so I'm basically invincible. So he can almost have a death wish in a way because he can't. You know. And then after he sends his father back, like that could have been the the climax of the movie. And then it's like, well, what? You know what I mean? Like at that point, he's vulnerable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like there should have been this point where it's like I don't know, like there's no you never that guy was not vulnerable in that movie.
No, he was all badass.
Yeah.
Could have been worse. He could have went back himself and had to Back to Future himself.
Well, that's what
Looks
they're
like
doing with the next movie.
looks like me and my mom got to get it on.
Well, the new movie actually does that Back to the Future 2 stuff where they go in between the other movies.
Is it a complete reboot or just
It's not a reboot, it's
it's
continuing
from the last one
essentially without directly continuing from the last one. Yeah.
because they're going back.
Man, you know,
Finkel is Einhorn. My mind can't comprehend. This is some Days of Future Past stuff right here. Wonder when that comes out on Blu-ray.
would begin the long, arduous task of drawing a bunch of organic nonsense. think the problem with me in this piece is I was into this last week, and now I'm not into it. And yet it has to get done, you know? Hmm. This is one of those pieces where you don't really get a lot of views until you're almost done with it. You know what I mean?
Right. People, this is one of those videos where you put it on and then you fast forward it to see the end. You're just like, yeah. So are you gonna pencil out all the stuff and then ink it, or you're are
No,
ready
I'm
to?
straight inking, dude.
Uh,
Sometimes I pencil some stuff underneath, kind of block it in. Bro, it's not hard to use this stuff, you know? I don't like doing a one-to-one, you know?
right. Well, when I'm joined with you on the recording, it doesn't show your video in HD. So sometimes, like right now, it's hard for me to see things. I'd
Well, a
have to
lot of this
watch.
is lighter than the
Uh,
face, because the face I constructed fairly well. So it's the face is printed at 70% opacity. His body's printed at 50, and the background is just silhouettes. There's no sense of me sketching that in the computer because it doesn't have to be perfect. They're demons, you know what I mean? I can just
right.
break them in with some pencil and then draw over like I do, you know. I mean, for the lack of a better example, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Some of these thin lines will never make it once I do the Copics. They're really just for the line art.
The sound of excitement.
I don't mind doing this. It's just my entire house is cool except for my room. I've had to keep the door closed during the day because my cat decided to pee in a spot. He's never done it in 7 years, and my room peed, you know? And I'm like, I can't start this with him.
Maybe he has a UTI.
Nope, I haven't checked. He didn't get fed on the time he wanted to get fed one day and decided to pee in my room. I know my cat. He's not peeing everywhere. It was just to piss me off.
You know Jeff Pena, right? Yeah, you know him.
Hmm.
He they have been traveling a lot lately. He's been going to a bunch of different cons, and he's got kind of a nice cat and an asshole cat. And sometimes the cat, if they've been gone for a long time, even though they have people come over and check on them, the cat will pee on clothes. Well, this last trip, the cat peed on Jeff's keyboard in his art room. So when he got home and picked up his keyboard, just cat piss came out. Like, what a dick. Like, cats are dicks.
Yeah.
Right on his keyboard. And
Yeah.
the cat knew where he was going. It's
Oh,
probably
they know.
smells just like his hands, which smells like him because when you pet a cat, their scent stays on your hands, and that's why they like it. But yeah.
They know. Like my cat, I know my cat knows right from wrong because like anytime he's doing something wrong, like if he's gonna go to a countertop to eat something or get some, go to eat the dog's food,
Hmm.
he'll do this. It's this weird little tick he does. Like he makes noises when he's doing something he knows is wrong, looking over his shoulder.
Uh-huh.
But he'll never do that until he goes to do something wrong. So that's how I know he's always up to something because I'm like, oh, he's making that fucking noise. I have to go. What are you doing? And he runs out.
Luckily, I don't own any animals.
Well, I'm glad I own animals, bro. They enrich your life. Empty your wallet a little bit, but
When we were playing trivia, you have your own team name, and it goes up on the. They have like video screens, and it's real fun, nice trivia, well put together. Our team name was Baby Free, Drama Free. I like that one because you could
very
tell
cool.
you could tell all the parents there that are on like their date night that have babysitters. They're having beers, and I was like, we ain't got no kids. Baby Free, Drama Free. What did I do with this? Leo.
All right, where's my pencil? I can't remember where I put the damn sharpener. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. Sometimes I lose track. Like I can't remember if I lost my sharpener here or at work sometimes.
I still need to find. I need to find a sharpener like the one you have, where you can stick the lead holder pencils in there and how it rotates, like spins and sharpens it. Because the ones I've tried just don't seem right. If that makes any sense.
Buy it online, bro.
Right. I just either forget or don't have the money. Usually it's the money.
You got money.
I got
It's ten
money.
bucks. Mister going to football games and shit. If you got money for the NFL, you got money for a pencil sharpener. You got no sympathy for me.
I got no money for the NFL. The only reason I go to the NFL is I got free tickets from my mama. What?
Take some of that Thor money.
Right. Okay, man. That's I mean, I love working for who I work for and all the wonderful assignments I get on a timely manner, and they keep me well enriched and paid. The life of an artist is a great life. I mean, to be fair, I mean, I don't even know perspective. So the fact that I have an art, a job where I can do art for Marvel's AR app, you know, and I know it's just like me and a handful of other people doing it. That
What I think is really funny is that guys that you know, if they heard you say that you didn't know perspective, will go, "No, that's not true. See, man, you can," because they really don't know. So if they hear you say it, what's that say about them?
I mean, I know where I'm at as an artist. I know enough to get by to do the job that I'm asked to do.
I keep that. I mean, I don't have to hear it now, but when I first started out, I'd get some, pointers on perspective from certain people
Hmm.
in my job, which is always humorous to me. And but like now, I keep the Edge of Tomorrow piece at my desk at work. 'Cause those pencils are for me, like I didn't make that
Uh-huh.
for anybody. So I just keep it there. Just see that? I know, like I know how to draw perspective. And just go away.
I still, as far as perspective wise goes, I still love your Mighty Nine. Like I just look at that and I'm like, and I know you probably didn't even try that hard with the
No, it's pretty
perspective,
easy.
right? But for me, I'm just like, yes, that's awesome. Just say thanks. Just be like, thanks, Brandon. Appreciate it. I worked
Thanks.
hard. There we go. It makes you
I didn't work
sound.
that hard on that one.
I know, but it just makes you sound more likable if you just say thanks.
Does it? Am I really? The
A
the
little,
the,
a
the
little
meter
bit.
goes. What little?
If someone's
What does
listening,
it
they're
matter
like,
if people like me anymore? Like it hasn't helped. They haven't hated me.
"This
It
is
hasn't been
this,
amazing.
this is where you
They
go
don't know
off
me. At
and
least now they
lose."
know me.
Right. This is where you go off, and then everyone's like, "Fucking Rob's
I
like
have a
the
hard time accepting compliments.
Rob's the Kanye West of the art world."
No, I don't think I'm good. That's for damn certain. That's different. Like Kanye really legitimately thinks he's the greatest ever. You know, I'm really interested in what I do. I just there are times I get, when I know people who can't do anything, you know, want to give me advice for some reason, and especially,
Go ahead.
there's always this like artist bravado thing that kind of goes on. Not where I work, but it used to in a certain art department I was in, right?
Hmm.
Because there was a lot of artists there, and everyone's always sizing each other up for some god, I don't know, I don't get it. And I was always of the mind like if there's someone who's really dope, then that pushes me, you know.
Right.
And but it because when I first started out, my T-shirt life wasn't too different than how my current career is now, where it's like I know I can do stuff, but for some reason I just haven't gained the popularity. So people who are more popular in the art department, maybe they had more designs, ticket or something, who clearly couldn't draw at all, and would go home and drink and DJ and do anything else besides fucking drawing,
Right.
would be trying to school me on art because they thought they were artists. And after a while, it just got real tiring, when you're up to like 4 in the morning, every fucking night. I remember sleeping on the lawn at work, you know, because I needed to get some sleep. But but yeah, I mean, I do. When people actually do legitimately compliment me, like I try to just shut up. Like you ever watch on like MasterChef when they get a compliment and they're like trying to speak over the person complimenting them.
Yeah.
Like if I'm being critiqued and like, oh, this you did a really good job on this, I would just nod and be like, okay. you know. But I don't
Right.
dwell on it. I don't go, wow, they really love my something or other, you know. Like I don't like shut up, you know. So I kind of do that to myself to keep myself in check. It's not that I don't appreciate the compliment. I said I'm not gonna sit here and pat myself on the back for some shit that's pretty simple for me, you know. But that's because you're in my inner circle. If you were just a normal fan, I would say, oh, thank you, you know. You should actually appreciate this because you're getting the more real me than you know. The fans get the really nice version, which really isn't, you know. This is because I don't want to come off in a certain way.
Right.
But that's what it takes. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, what would it take to get the average person in 100-degree heat, and no sleep after they've been working 12 hours a day to sit in their room and continue to work, you know?
Right.
What do you think that takes? No one's pushing me. No one says, you got to get to work, you know? I don't have a wife or whatever sitting around saying, you got to do this, this is due, you know?
Right.
I'm the one doing it. So what I always try to tell people, like, think about it. Like, you know, once you start to really push your own art, and you're actually producing projects and, no, 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 um, part of that will sink in. It chills out. Like, I used to be really bad about it. I'm nicer now than I've ever been. I mean,
Yes.
there were years, bro. But when you knew me as just, a guy we'd see at con, I mean, I was always cool, right? Like,
Hmm.
no, I was always cool. I never picked on you.
No, no,
I
you
wasn't really
didn't.
nice to Joe, but Joe was in my fucking circle.
Right. Oh, I know. I've seen
I'm really
seen
nice
I've
to
seen
the
the
artists
real.
that I really don't care for. Like the ones who I know aren't even trying, you know?
Right.
Or the ones that I think are really nice people and they couldn't handle any kind of, they're just looking for validation. I'm pretty good at reading that too. Like, do you want critique or do you just want to be validated? Because, if you're validated, you don't need me. Just I used to tell it too. Look, you're selling paintings at cons. You don't need me to validate whether you can sell a painting at a Comic Con. Are you good enough to get work at Top Cow? No.
No.
Under not under any circumstance whatsoever. Even if you knew those guys, which you do, not a chance in hell. You know. So what are you gonna do about it? You got to figure out what you really want.
Cry. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, that's what a lot of people do.
Nah, I just.
Those guys just won't tell you because they don't want the. Who wants that? You know.
I'm just gonna keep drawing till I get better, or I just quit. Which I'm too stubborn to quit.
Yeah.
I'm also a little too stubborn to push myself as much as I should, but I'm definitely doing it more so than before. I'd say if, let's say, pushing myself 100% would be doing what you do, I'd say since my surgery, I'm probably at like a 30% compared to 10%. I don't know. I mean,
Right, and I think like where my frustration, every now and then when I rail on you, is when you try to give me this bullshit excuse like you've actually been working at it, and I'm like, that's impossible. Like I know you
right.
think you have, but we all know this is bullshit.
Hmm.
Like if you applied the same amount of effort at your day job, you wouldn't collect a paycheck. Like, and I think as artists, if you aren't real with yourself, how can you really improve? You know,
Right.
and coming back from Comic Con on that con high doesn't count.
I haven't had the con high since I before I stopped doing paintings. That's when my sales went down.
Well, I told you you should only be doing that.
Yeah, but that's only if I want to do cons, fall back. Like I'll do the cheaper ones, like the amazing cons, because those are nice. You know, I can get a table for fucking $100 or something cheap. You know, and he always Jimmy J, the guy who puts it on, he's real good about if you get your table early, he knocks it down like $100 or 120, like really super cheap, because he's gonna make his money regardless. So I usually hope that's not just a discount for me, but I always get them cheap. But it's like Phoenix Con for next year. I paid for it, and then I'll probably just, like we were talking, I'll just probably back out if I don't. I just can't decide what I want to do.
How much did it cost?
I'd have to look, but I think like 225.
Hmm.
Um, I think because I'm still on the like the grandfathered in price.
Hmm.
Um, Otherwise, I think they're up to like 350 now, 375.
Fuck all that, bro.
Yeah, I don't know what it is because I'm still in the you know keeping my table thing, but I'm gonna see if I can get somebody to let me do. Remember when you sat at Tom's table at the corner and you just had you just sat there and did sketches. I'm gonna try and see if
Yeah, but I
anybody.
was a cover. I mean, and
Right.
to be honest, Tom never seen anyone hustle like me. Like I don't think before or since. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't
Like,
think anybody's gonna give me like when I say
like
that I don't mean
I think in some way I might have abused that position there. Like, but I was like, look, I get the space back here. I'm gonna utilize it. I mean, his wife was just like, I never, like that. That was awesome. That one year I cleaned house too.
oh yeah.
I made more than them. I just don't know about. I just knew like that he was cool, but he was not cool. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't care. You could tell me to go, dude, which he won't do because he's a nice person.
Yeah.
They're like, well, if you could you sell some books too? I'm like, I gotta sell books now. You only paid me $100. Like, no offense, guys. You know what I mean? Like, I gotta sell the books I'm on too. Like, I don't have to be here for this. You know?
Right.
For me, like, it was always about. I didn't sell much of anything when I first ran around with Tom because he would take me to cons and I was there to like be on the road with him because he didn't want to drive alone.
Right.
And I thought that was cool because we were going to different shops and then it just turned into like, oh, you can come to the show and I I was so not getting paid. But game fan, like I had to hustle. So that was a fun year. And then other artists started bringing like trunks full of prints and shit and set up the little print thing behind him, and he put the kibosh on that. Like
Right.
even after I'd already paid for my table, just to see what he would say. I'm like, so what's going on with the con? I don't know. He's like, yeah, I already have a lot of spots filled, and artists that are on books are gonna. I was like, ah, I knew,
Mm.
Uh,
I don't know. Lately all I've been selling is those sketch covers. I sell a shit ton of those. So maybe if I just sketch covers and paintings, just to cover the cost, and maybe put
I
a
told you, take paintings, bro.
yeah.
The only thing you should be doing from now until con is paintings, and you draw sketch covers there. Catch my drift? All you need
Word.
is one sketch cover sample. You know what I mean?
Mm.
For that, so you just draw one really cool whatever Harley Quinn, whatever is the most popular thing you do,
Right.
and then you have only one there. And then what you do is you fucking teach your girl to draw. I don't care how dumb it is. Like, that's the thing that kills me. Like she could be cleaning house a little bit too down there.
Yeah.
I mean that's the truth. With those dudes, mermaid guy put her in a mermaid outfit and shit. Get the indecent proposal. He's like, actually, I have $1 million. You're like,
Never.
what?
Never.
A million? A billion? No,
Yeah,
no. He's like, he
probably.
wants you. How much for you in the outfit?
Uh, Probably less. I might talk him out. I'm like, you really want to spend your money on this? Like, shit. $1 million? I'll take one for the team.
I told you what to do. You could take all year to get to the realization, or you could start now and be prepared. I hate that this shit isn't clearly defined. You know, it's fucking armor. It's like it's so not. It's like it is and it isn't. Like I mean, because I've been with companies that are like, you can't sell one thing. You know,
Right.
you're there between this time and this time. You don't appear to arrive until something something at a certain time. If you're not there by a certain time, you know, nah, 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 nah. But I figured I'm like, if the guy had promoted me better, I'd have been promoting me better, or him better. You know.
Right.
We got in the. I just find it funny that we got in the whole McFarlane, David Michelini fucking argument over who created Cupid. You know, it's like Tom saying you need a fucking angel character. You know, for a cover, and then I give you that, and you say you created her. Do you think that's fair? Like, did you
Right.
really? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you wrote something after I drew that. You know, did you really create her? You know. Oh, Tom said, I don't give a. Tom can come fucking down here. We can have a nice little argument over this shit. You know. I love the guy, but that's the only time, dude. I haven't directly been able to speak to him about it, but I just, you know what I mean? It's like he was
Yeah.
like arguing through a fan. And I was like, you just tell Tom to come down here and tell me I'm wrong. I would love to see that. McFarlane didn't create Venom. The symbiote actually. Shut up. You know? You show me Venom before McFarlane showed up. Just show me it. You know?
Right.
Don't tell me that Spider-Man was in black. That has anything to do with it. You know? Well, Michelini were what? You know? It's funny. But I side with the artists. It's always been my take, you know. It's like every book I worked on, even when I redesigned the fucking monsters, I had to put original designs by some dude I've never seen before, you know? I'm like,
Right.
but how come I don't get design credit on Oz? You know? Original designs by me, motherfucker. You know, like it's funny when I post up the designs, people are like, "Actually, this book already exists." I'm like, "Actually, I did the fucking design work." You know, you know. I mean, she already looks like her current design. No, I'm not redesigning. That is, I don't think you understand.
Eh, most people just defend things they don't know anything about.
Well, I've never heard of you. That's what they'll say. Exactly. That's my problem. You've never heard. That's what I'm trying to say. And don't say it's because, well, I was just a cover artist, you know? Plenty of just cover artists who got plenty of credit for their covers, you know? Can name two or three right now, you know? Again, this is that bitterness, right? Like that whole like but I think that shit's legitimate gripes. But I understand the business, and so when I tell them, look, you know, I'm not expecting you to go back and change history. I'm moving on, you know. Well, how come? Yeah. Felt bad for Owen drawing that snake book. Told Tom it was a stupid idea. In as nice a way as I possibly could.
Right.
Without directly calling it a stupid idea, you know? He got the guy. Owen drew a pretty cool Evangeline book, and he got him to draw the snake thing. Tube snakes. I don't know, dude.
Be right back.
Mhm.
And I'm back. And then Rob says, "Yay!"
Yay. It's amazing.
So the Deadpool movie, you think it's going to be rated R?
Don't know. I wish they would. Doubt it. What was Zombieland?
R.
And then it should be. Hey, look, The Matrix was rated R and it made a lot of money.
All right.
It is possible.
I think Deadpool being such a insanely liked, well-known character will do fine. They'll throw in a little Rob Liefeld cameo in there, maybe like a Stan Lee cameo type thing.
It'd be great if they put him in a Levi's commercial.
All denimed out and everything.
Wouldn't it? Or if his name was Levi. That'd be awesome. The only thing that's driving me nuts about this is the details. Trying to make sure I don't. It's how the Cobics will work with it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like, oh my god, how much room can I leave? And I don't want to shortchange the line arts too. You know.
Right.
Mm.
Do you think a Spawn movie reboot or new
You
story
saw
would
that
work?
fan film, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's alright. Look, here's the thing. Yeah, I would think it would work fantastic. Because Guardians worked. The problem is it needs to be fantasy. You know.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't need to be like that fan film with this urban thing, you know? Like, and people are like, "Oh, this is really good." I'm like, "It's boring. I don't want to see Spawn in a laundromat."
Yeah, I just kind of
Okay? I don't. I don't want to see Spawn in a laundromat, and I'm pissed because I have a funny fucking feeling we're gonna see Angela in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie before we're gonna see Spawn in a fantasy movie.
Oh yeah.
See what I'm saying, dude?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I almost thought when they cast Karen Gillan, I was like, I swear to God, if Angela's in this movie, I'm just gonna fucking throw myself off a building. You know? I don't know, like, if my
Oh,
mind can handle it.
she'll be. I won't say she'll get a big role, but I can bet. And number two, she'll be in one of the bars or in some kind of place, and you just see her maybe in the back holding her spear, maybe in a chair, or something, or at her ship waiting, something, and they'll see how people react to it. I say bring on the Howard the Duck movie.
Yeah, I'm all cool with that.
Why you let him lick your face like that?
The thing I'm the most interested in right now from Marvel is Daredevil. You know,
I haven't looked, but have they shown him? Have they shown the costume
no,
yet?
no, but I think that'll be debuted at the New York Comic Con coming up here.
The only problem I had with the movie costume, the last one, was the connection between his
I also
mask.
didn't like, yeah, but I didn't like the '70s zip up Jess too, where it's like a little thing on his pocket and you
Right.
know.
I liked the gloves. I liked I liked the pants. I didn't care too much for the zip up. I would have really liked a pullback mask, where it sits on the back of their neck.
I don't think any of that matters because look in Watchmen they didn't have that, and well, yeah, I mean he had the pullback mask, but it was faked. You know what I mean? Like I'm just saying, it doesn't have to be built into the costume. You know, they could
Right.
just do it in the movie. Like Owlman did it in the Watchmen, and it wasn't like oh, you know. Another thing with these costumes, they overthink shit. You know,
Yeah. Yeah, I liked the Almac. I thought that. I mean, I have a figure of it, a little toy figure of it, just because I like the design so much of the movie version. I don't know. I get bugged by costume design sometimes. It's like what's practical and what's just not needed.
like what would be not needed.
On Daredevil,
I don't know, just what you anything like what stands out to your mind the most.
well, there's minimal things that like let's take Guardians of the Galaxy. We're talking about that. Drax, right? He's the tattoos and just pants, so he doesn't really need a costume. You got Star Lord, who's just basically the helmet. That's how you know him by is the helmet and maybe the jacket. But all the other shit, you don't really doesn't really matter what shirt he's wearing underneath or what he has on. Rocket has that cool orange and black tracksuit, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
Um,
but that wasn't in the comics. That's that's specific to the movie.
right, which I'm fine with. Well, what I'm saying is I'm okay with them changing the costumes for the movies, but when it's overdone, like let's say a Batman and Robin type shit, where it's nipples and tons of extra added lines and
Yeah, but everyone
zippers and
knows the movie sucks. Pick a movie that people generally like that you think the costume's all wrong.
that people like and the costumes all wrong.
Yeah, there has to be something.
Mm, okay, I didn't personally. I didn't like the the Nolan Batman suits.
All right, why?
I didn't. I thought it was just. I didn't. To me, it wasn't Batman. It was a tactical soldier. It was a buffed up SWAT team member. I hated how round his helmet was. It made Christian Bale's face and head look like a fucking football, like Hey Arnold. Uh,
Wouldn't you say Frank Miller's cowl was like that?
no, that's
Wasn't
more
round.
that. When I
He
look
had
at
like
Frank Miller,
combat boots,
I
and
think of chiseled. That's like out of
you
concrete,
don't think
sharp
that that
lines.
Nolan suit would be chiseled? The first one is a little roundish, but I
I
mean,
didn't I didn't like the first one. The first one was my most hated one. By the second one, a little better. It was more, and they addressed it with the I need to be lighter, move better.
yeah, but the
Look,
armor plating design on the first one was pretty cool, and the cape was pretty. The fabric thing was
uh,
really dope.
I don't know,
The
those little
gloves, the
triangle
gloves just had no
things,
texture. For me, like with that one, the problem with that is the gloves had no texture.
the big glossy gloves.
Well, they
Yeah,
had
well,
it
not
was just
glossy,
rubber
but
gloves. It was
rubber.
just
Yeah,
rubber gloves in the first one, and I get why because they're like, oh, static electrical charge. I know that. It just, they were smooth. Like same thing with his gauntlets were smooth. At that point, I prefer the first Burton movie.
the Catwoman
But
costume. I
but
didn't
the
care for that.
rib cage design of his, like the whole like the way the ab and the rib cage plating, it's got those little fins and stuff on there. That shit looks pretty dope, dude.
Yeah, you're biased.
No, I'm not.
I didn't like. I didn't. I thought the Catwoman design was stupid. I mean, that's stupid. I just the headpiece goggles thing bugged the shit out of me.
Yeah, but she has that in the comics.
Yeah, and I thought the comics version.
See, you're
You could.
saying stupid. You're not. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
That's
I'm
not
not. I know.
really.
I'm not.
That's not a very good argument, bro.
No, I know that.
It's stupid.
It's
You know,
dumb. It's
you're
dumb. It looks
biased. I'm not. How am I
stupid.
biased if I say this didn't work out so well, but this was cool? You're biased. I'm not biased.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Let's say the Catwoman. I thought they're trying to be clever with the flip up and it makes the ears and she puts them down to see whatever fingerprints and shit. I thought they could have been more rounded, more sleek, and not so more tactical espionage looking. It bugged me. Batman, that first movie, he's a fat kid in a suit. He's got a big round head. He looks super wide and not buff. He's got little triangles to hold his cape. I didn't like it. I just didn't like it.
Triangles to hold his cape.
He did. Look, he's got little triangle things to hold his cape on his chest
Yeah, because they can actually be released.
with little triangles.
I don't know if
And
that's
his big
not the
stewy
greatest
head, his,
argument
his
in the
big
world here.
stewy head. He's got a big
Yeah.
stewy head. It's just like Hey Arnold Stewie, big
No, he
round
doesn't. He just
football
has
head.
a thicker neck in the back. It's supposed to be able to turn a little bit. It's not that. It's not that. That's the thing, dude. Like I've seen these cows up close. They're not that big. You're just projecting onto your own whatever. Honestly, the biggest cowl ever made was the Burton movie. It's huge. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's pretty big, dude.
As soon as this new Batman movie comes out, they're gonna be like, "That's the best Batman outfit ever."
I used to have a friend, right? I won't say he was used to be a friend. I mean, he's for friendly. I'll talk to him maybe once or twice a year. And I work with this guy, right? It's no one you know. And like he used to tell me like when the Dark Knight came out, he didn't like it. Well, it's not the best, I don't know, like the voice. I mean, well, who's the best Batman? He's like Kevin Conroy. And
What?
I'm like, that's a cartoon, dude. He's
I
like,
wouldn't agree with
that's the
that.
best. I said, no, no, hold on, dude. That's a cartoon. Like I get you like the writing and you like the voices, but that's not. You know what I mean? You can't put Kevin Conroy in a fucking Batman outfit and call that a day, dude. He didn't look a fucking
Yeah.
thing. Like,
My favorite so far is Michael Keaton.
well, I told you, like, my initial take when they said Snyder was going to do The Dark Knight Returns, I said they got to cast Keaton. You know?
Hmm.
How great would that be? You know?
Just to come
Come,
full
to
circle.
come full circle, dude, and, like, just cast him as an older version of that Batman. You know?
Well, you seen the trailer for the Birdman movie, right?
Of course.
Right. So that's pretty much when I envision, you know, a senile, cranky Batman, just still has everything going on, still has something to prove. Like, so he could have done it. Like when I watched that trailer, I'm like, yeah, he could have pulled it off. He could do it. He could hold his
Michael
own.
Keaton's a fantastic. He's one of the most underrated actors ever. I don't know why, because in the '80s, dude, everything was typecast.
Hmm.
Mr. Mom, I don't know. And now, if a guy does a comedy, it doesn't matter if he can do a. They don't. We don't typecast people like that. You don't say, oh, the guy. No one's gonna fucking knock Bryan Cranston after he did Breaking Bad for Malcolm in the Middle.
Right.
But for some reason, even after clean and sober, fucking Michael Keaton, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like why that stuck? Because he could. I mean, he was in Jackie Brown, dude. He was fucking awesome. Like I just don't know. He played a villain in that one movie where he was like the asshole guy who moved in next door. It was fucking awesome. There's a
Well,
slew of those movies in the '90s. Like
I mean, like nowadays, it's more. You get better at. Let me try to say this better. I'm a little tired. You get better surprises out of actors you wouldn't expect in roles. Like Heath Ledger as the Joker would have never in a fucking million years guessed that. There was so much hate, so much, and then he was by far. I've never watched, and I say this over and over again, but I've never watched a person portray a character so perfectly in a movie, like ever. Like when I watch him as the Joker, I'm like, there'll never be someone who could top that. That is, when I think of the Joker, I just think of him. That I was like, this is Joker in real life, and I can't say that about any other character I've ever watched, in my opinion. So it's, and then like people hating on Ben Affleck, I'm like, you don't know. He could be. He's. I watched The Town, and he's a badass.
I told you
He.
to see that movie, right?
Which one?
The Town.
Oh yeah, I watched it. I went and saw it in theaters
Right.
when it came out. I went and saw it in IMAX when it came out, and the machine guns, and everything, it was so badass. I loved it. And
Yeah,
then
he's even made Hawkeye was fucking badass in that movie, you know? And
yeah,
the kid from Iron Man, what's her face from Iron Man 3 and shit. So it's like, you know how many people like my art director was saying, oh, just can't get past. I said, have you seen The Town? And I'm trying to tell
right.
him Hawkeye's in the movie, and he's like, that's like to him a reason not to see it because Hawkeye was the guy he didn't like in the Avengers. I'm like, look,
No,
dude, I'm telling you, these aren't bad actors. You know, they
right.
don't have anything to do in those movies.
Well, that's a perfect example of you saying earlier a guy carrying a movie on his own. Like you could take out everybody else in that movie, and I could just watch it with Ben Affleck in The Town. Like he carries
Like
it.
that tension in the scene between him and Renner, right? When he realizes this guy knows this chick now,
Hmm.
this guy's dangerous because he knows, you know what I mean? Like, this guy's going to use this,
Right.
to get what he wants. And it's in broad daylight, it's a sunny, happy day, and she's having a good time, and, you
And they're
know?
ready to stab each other with table knives.
Yeah, but it wasn't overdone. You know what I mean? It wasn't like,
I love this. I love just to keep going about. I love the scene when they go to mess up those guys with the hockey when they got their hockey masks and stuff, and I was just like, wow, all right. You like apples?
different movie.
I know, I know, but it fit. Applesauce.
Yeah, it was like when Good Will Hunting came out, my friends didn't want to see it. They're like, oh, no, man, I'm like, have you seen Rounders? You know?
Right.
And they're like, oh, no. Have you seen it? Like,
I think sometimes actors just need a one movie to show what they really can do. Like Chris Pratt, he's cool. He was in was Zero Dark 30 or whatever, but him in this movie, it's just like he is that character. I couldn't imagine anyone else being that character really. I mean, I'm sure someone could, but it's like Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man. That's
I still stay. That if Downey, if they had to recast that right now, you just cast Tom Cruise.
really.
Dude, Tom Cruise can act, bro.
No, I don't say he can't.
Yeah.
I just I just
Tom Cruise could also play the older dude, who's smart. I'm telling you, man. And he's got range. Go watch fucking Tropic Thunder if you think the guy can't do comedy.
right.
You know?
It's hard to imagine, but probably.
You could put Jennifer Aniston as Pepper Potts and it fills the fucking role.
I have it on Blu-ray. I like Ghost Protocol with Tom Cruise. I mean, he does action.
Dude, Edge of Tomorrow.
He
Have you
he
seen it?
makes yeah. I saw it. We did a podcast on it.
Have you seen it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I
We
wondered if you've actually seen it. You just
you
those are
mean
maybe a
you
bunch
mean
of
you
trailers.
mean Live Die Repeat? I've seen that.
It is that on the PlayStation Network, by the way.
That's what it is on my Xbox One. I
Yeah.
was looking for it, and I'm like, where is Edge of Tomorrow? Thought it
I
came
thought
out, and then
about
just
that. I'm like, it's funny to see, right?
yeah, Live Die Repeat, and
And
then
then Edge of
and then
Tomorrow's
small letters,
Internal. Yeah.
yeah, little letters. It's a
Have you
Edge of
ever
Tomorrow.
seen that before? Like,
No, never. They're like
it'd be
people
like
aren't gonna.
calling fucking the Punisher movie like War Journal or War Zone, and then underneath it's small semicolon Punisher.
Right? I think it's maybe because people are like, Edge of Tomorrow, what the fuck's that about? But then Live, Die, Repeat, they're like, oh
Because it's
yeah,
a
is that one where
stupid
he keeps
name,
dying?
that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It may as well have been called Rise of Tomorrow.
The original Japanese version is called Live, Die, Repeat too, right?
No, it's called fucking All You Need Is Kill.
Oh, All You Need Is Kill. That's right. Which is still a better title than Edge of
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Someone was telling me, well, they would never put Die in a title. I'm like, Die Hard?
Right?
I'm like, don't tell me what they wouldn't do, you fucking marketing departments, man. I could tell you a movie I thought didn't look that great, and everyone seemed to really like it when it came out.
What?
Sin City.
The first one?
Yep. I'm like, makeup looks pretty cheap. I mean, this looks like a really cool music video, but I don't think it looks that great. Yeah. I thought the trailer was like, oh, that's a cool concept, and it didn't never look like a film to me. Like the staging that you see in like Hudsucker Proxy was better than the staging in that film. Like,
Uh, the sequel bombed, right?
oh yeah, 13 mil worldwide.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's the biggest tank of the year.
Was it directed by Robert Rodriguez?
Oh sure, and Frank Miller, right in the fucking credits.
Well, Frank Miller.
I
We
like
all.
his little revisionist fucking history comments recently. He says he's never watched the Batman movies. And then meanwhile, I got whole interviews, dude, where he was talking about how great Nolan's Batman was and when it came out and shit. All they ever
Right.
do is copy off me now, and I don't really watch them because I'm like, fucking egomaniac, bro. Look, man, I like Frank Miller as an artist, but I'm gonna be honest with you, dude. I like Frank Miller as an artist when Klaus Janson was inking his work. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sin City was cool to me when I was a kid, but it was really The Dark Knight Returns, you know? And Claude Janson made that shit work. Added
Yeah.
the details into his art, you know? End of story.
I still can't believe the fucking when they put it all together, the Spirit movie. They were like, yeah, this is it. This is the good. This is gonna be it. We got to release. This is gonna be good stuff.
It's up there with Candyman as one of the worst movies I've ever had to sit through.
Yeah, I'd say the Spirit, and this I've never said this before, but I'll say it now, is worse than Catwoman. The Spirit was so bad. I was like, why is everyone racist in this movie?
I just don't know what the hell happened in The Spirit. I honestly can't tell you what I watched.
Is he dead?
I
Alive? Is he?
honestly can't tell you what I don't know what it is I just saw.
All right.
You know? I just don't know. It the things he was trying to do, he would do in a comic book script. Don't work in a movie, you know?
Right.
They don't.
Well, that, and he was taking everything that people liked in Sin City and was trying to apply it to his own movie without.
I
It's,
suppose, but let's just look at the script. I mean, it never clearly states who he is and what he does. Ever. I mean,
he's
it
he's
doesn't
a,
explain. I don't know
he's a,
what he's trying to do. I don't know where he is at the end of the movie compared to where he was. I don't know anything about him.
he's a ghost detective that gets girls and fights
You know,
racist people.
honestly, they never say that. You know what I mean? It's never really clearly stated what he does. Like even Batman, I'm Batman. Oh, all right, he's Batman. I get that.
he's got he's got business cards that says it.
Beetlejuice. You know what I mean? Like, all right, Beetlejuice. I know who Beetlejuice is. Right. Oh, I'm Iron Man. Right. Okay. I, I don't know what the spirit is. I don't know. He wasn't on the case. He wasn't on it. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I just remember Tar and confusion. Confusion in the screenwriter. Confusion for myself. I mean, at that point, I don't know, dude. Like, I honestly, the contender for the worst movie I've ever had to sit through that everyone seems to love, I hate, is fucking Eraserhead. I'm
Is
not a
what?
big David Lynch fan. David Lynch, I think he's a fantastic person to listen to. You know, I think he's really well spoken. I enjoy listening to David Lynch talk about movies. I can't stand David Lynch's actual films. I hate fucking Eraserhead. Like I really, honestly, I mean, I can't. It's hard for me to say.
I don't even know what a racer it is.
It's hard for me to say I hate something. Like something in there's something about Eraserhead and the universe that it exists in, everything about it that make it does. It incites me into anger. I don't know why.
What is a racer head?
It's a movie that
No,
David Lynch
I
made.
understand. Yes, I understand that.
I
I
wish I
understand.
could tell you what the movie was about, bro. Just go fucking sit through it.
No,
I dare you. It'll make you
no.
appreciate the spirit. But you know
I've
what? It's not that far from it. It's in black and white.
I've watched good stuff you've recommended. I'm not gonna watch bad stuff you.
Yeah, watch the thing that I tell you angers me at the thought of it. I
That way I could reference it if ever.
dare you. Yeah. See how well that works out for you.
Pass. Pass on that. Yeah, it took a year for me to watch the Full Metal.
Yeah, and I told you it'd be the best anime you ever saw.
Yeah, it's all right. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
I went back and I watched the part with the photograph and everything.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah. No, I
You
believed you. I missed
just
it when
tuned it out.
I was
You're like,
just
huh,
like
what?
I was like, why is it over? No.
Try to tell you.
But I'm glad it had an ending. There's no like we were saying. There's no open-ended stuff. It all
It could continue if they wanted it to, but it doesn't have to. You know what I
right.
mean? It really doesn't.
Like if it would have ended with like the
Spoilers for the end of Full Metal Brotherhood.
yeah. If you haven't, if it would have ended where Alphonse was like stuck still in that spirit world and they were all in that room, anything. If it would have ended any other way, I would have been pissed. I'd be like, no, you finished this shit.
Yeah, but the original anime, you do you know the ending?
Mm-mm.
What they did was is they did it so like they were split in two different dimensions. So like when he came back to a different Earth. Like they were split. It's not good, dude.
Wait, so they were in a
And their
different
mom was still
reality?
alive and a bunch of other shit, dude. Yeah, it was a whole bunch of nonsense, bro. That's why I
Is
told you
that
don't watch it.
right? Is that why they had that standalone movie too, like Sacred something?
I guess I refuse to watch it. You know, like
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
need to have
I don't
the
need.
Brotherhood, which you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'm good with what I saw. Yeah, that sounds stupid. The way it ended with spoilers, the way it ended with him sacrificing his powers for his brother, that was good. Because it just comes down to like power. Can you give power up? And he does. You
Yeah,
know.
the whole movie's about power, right? And everyone trying to become like gods, and the more power they have, the worse it gets. You know, this is
Right.
the only time
Immortal
where he gives up something. You know.
of equal. You know. Or
Yeah.
greater. He gives up something greater. He gives up all his power. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the I
But it seems so simple. It never dawns on you, right? When he does it, you go, huh? You know, I never really thought. You know.
and the way they set up to where he just kind of smirks, smiles at everybody, and then he's like, "This is the last you'll see of Full Metal," and you're like, "Wait, what?" And then it happens. You're like, "Oh." So you know, I don't care if it's spoilers for people who haven't seen it. The this whole time does what is the truth? The eyeball, is it like a god? Is it?
Good question.
That's the only part I was
For
just
you,
like, well,
it's for you to figure out.
what do you think it is?
I don't really form an opinion on that stuff.
Oh, come on, you got an opinion on everything.
Huh? I really know when it comes to this sort of thing, I don't think it's intended to have a direct, it's God or it's this or that. I think it's, you know, it's, I think it's you. You know how like everything there is a neutral value,
Mm-hmm.
right? Positive and negative. I think it's everything you are, and that's why it changes depending on who it talks to. In a way,
Uh huh.
it reacts differently. I think it's a reflection of themselves, like the worst parts of themselves, you know, or what's ever left over, kind of thing, you know. And so like when the flask ends up in there, it doesn't do much of anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't like have a long conversation with him and shit. You know, it just opens up and takes his ass. You know, because he doesn't have anything. You
Yeah.
know.
He already gave up all his parts.
Yeah, I think that it's more of like a reflect. Like you can't move on because, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I just don't think it's something simple as like, well, it's this or that. I think it's representing, and it's hard because since it's from Japan, it could have, Buddhist it could have a lot of different cultural things that we aren't
Right.
aware of.
Right. Being at peace with oneself, being able to let go of things and move on to better enlightenment, etc.
I mean, the creator, I know, like I think she grew up like in a farming community. So like she did this anime, she did this other manga that became an anime last year. It's about working on a farm. It's about they like we went on the island, and it's like circle of life shit.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all about like, hey, yeah, being on a farm, these animals are going to become your food. So but you got to have like balance. You got to like respect nature and shit. You got to respect what they're going to be too. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their role, kind of thing. And so, like I said, there's just a lot of different.
Which she kind of touches on that on Full Metal when I think like Alphonse was talking about eating, or no, Ed was talking about how he sees it, how it's all connected.
Right,
The food, when he's
right.
coming to terms with everything. I gets it. So what am I supposed to watch now?
If you want to watch something kind of funny, The Devil's a Part-Timer is pretty good. If you haven't seen that. Have you
Hmm.
seen Sword Art yet?
Sword Art?
Sword Art Online?
Oh, I saw it pop up on Netflix, but I haven't
Yeah,
watched it.
watch that. You'll like that.
Now, do you actually like it, or are you just telling me to watch it?
Why would I tell you just to watch something I didn't like?
I don't know. Valid point.
They just started season 3, so you want to go back to the beginning.
You gonna finish this all tonight?
It's 1:30. I'll probably finish the rest tomorrow. Once I get on my roll, it'll keep going, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we're recording Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, then. I'm gonna go to bed.
Alright, dude.
If you record tomorrow and I'm not busy, just send me a text or call.
I won't.
All right, later.
Like, Well, I think this is a good place to stop, and then I'll come back to it tomorrow and finish it up. So I made pretty good progress. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for hanging out. Bye.